Hey there, just a heads up, this episode of the Judo Science Podcast was created with help from AI. Some of the voices you'll hear are synthetic, but the ideas come from real research and real judo.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to get you up to speed, fast, on topics you're curious about. You want the real story without the noise.
And today, we're stepping onto the judo mat.
Yeah, we're looking at a specific technique, Harai Goshi. It's Japanese, obviously, and you might hear it pronounced something like Harai Goshi.
That's pretty close. Sometimes maybe a bit more clipped, like Harai Goshi. But yeah, the key thing, it's a judo hip technique.
Right, a koshi waza, which literally means hip technique, doesn't it?
Exactly, that's the classification.
So our mission today isn't just, a definition. We want to really get how it works, why it's used, what makes it tick.
And we've got some interesting stuff to look at, a scientific paper breaking down the biomechanics, and also some really practical tips from a judo sensei, someone with real hands-on experience.
Okay, let's jump in. At its heart, what is Harai Goshi?
Well, fundamentally, based on one of our sources, it's about turning in front of your opponent, loading them onto your hip, and then using this sweeping leg action to finish the throw. It's very dynamic.
Right, dynamic. And the source actually breaks it down step by step. Let's walk through that. First step, the grip.
Yeah, the grip. It mentions sleeve and high on the lapel.
Seems pretty standard for judo, getting that control.
Absolutely. That grip is your starting point for leverage, for setting up the next part.
Which is kuzushi,
Yeah.
off-balancing.
Exactly, kuzushi. The source describes it as stepping around, breaking their balance forward to the corner.
Okay, how?
You're pulling with that sleeve grip and driving up with the lapel grip, all while rotating your body.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a lot happening at once. You've got to coordinate that perfectly.
Oh, definitely. It's highly coordinated. You're not just pulling straight back, You're creating this kind of controlled instability, making them light.
Making them easier to throw. Makes sense. So after kuzushi comes the entry.
Right. You keep pulling until their chest, their abdomen, connects with your torso. Real close contact. And at the same time, your outside leg moves past theirs, and you start that sweep upward and outward against their leg with your thigh.
So you're really getting in there, using your whole body. That close contact seems key.
It's crucial for transferring power efficiently. And that leg sweep isn't just like a random kick.
No.
No, it's timed, placed precisely. Works with the hip.
Got it. And the final step, the execution.
That's where it all comes together. You twist your body, pull hard forward and down with both hands.
And that brings them over.
Brings them right over onto their back, ideally right in front of you. It's the payoff for all those earlier steps working together.
But, and this seems important, the source says you need precise timing, coordination, leverage.
Absolutely critical. Get it wrong.
And you just end up kicking them.
Yeah, exactly. Not the goal. So it's much more nuanced than it might look.
Okay, that's a good picture of the technique itself.
Yeah.
Now let's shift to the science, this biomechanics study. Why look at Harai Goshi specifically?
Well, the study points out that judo is often called a technical sport. That means it follows basic physics principles pretty closely, making it great for this kind of analysis.
Physics principles like?
Things like your base of support, center of gravity, line of gravity, how your body acts as levers, laws of motion. The basics.
Right, stuff fundamental to movement. The study mentions other factors too, right? Timing, stability.
Oh, yeah. Body type anthropometry, they call it equilibrium, leverage again, inertia, acceleration. It's complex. Judo's this whole interplay of forces and movement.
And it seems there hasn't been a ton of this kind of detailed scientific study on specific judo throws.
Not as much as you might think, historically. But they do mention an early study, Tezuka et al., specifically on Harai Goshi.
And what did Tezuka find?
What's really interesting is they found Harai Goshi was the second most common standing throw Tachiwaza used to actually win matches.
Wow. Okay, so it's clearly effective.
Very. They described it like a standard hip throw, but with that backward leg sweep adding, they thought, extra power.
Did they look at variations?
Yeah, they noted whether judoka used one step or two before the throw, showing how individuals adapt the basic form.
And other researchers built on that. Harder in baits.
Right. They compared Harai Goshi with Uchimata, another throw. Found Uchimata was maybe a bit quicker to execute.
Okay.
But the really key thing they found was that there seemed to be different ways to effectively unbalance someone for both throws. And the most skilled person in their study, a second Dan, they adapted their technique, made subtle changes based on themselves and the situation. It's not robotic.
Right, you have to react, it's dynamic. What about Haga and Wia's work? Force, velocity, power.
Yeah, they looked at the energy side of things. They found Harai Goshi and another throw, Tayatoshi, had similar force and power patterns, but Harai Goshi seemed to become less energy efficient against heavier opponents, over 80 kilos.
Interesting. So maybe it's better suited for throwing people closer to your own weight or lighter.
That's the suggestion, yeah. Strategically, it might be more profitable against lighter folks. Opponent weight matters.
Fascinating detail. So, okay, let's get into the main study we're looking at. They had novices and advanced players.
Yep, a mixed group. They used a force platform
To measure.
the forces from the support leg pushing on the ground, and video analysis to track the sweeping leg's motion.
So they got kinetic data, the forces, the engine, and kinematic data, the motion, the movement.
Exactly, looking at both horizontal and vertical forces and velocities for both legs. Very detailed.
Okay, so what did they find? What were the big differences between the novices and the advanced players?
The standout finding was a really significant difference in horizontal force application.
How so?
The advanced players were just much better at generating effective horizontal ground reaction force with that support leg, pushing sideways, essentially.
And did that connect to the sweep?
It seemed to. In most participants, there was a strong link between how hard they pushed horizontally and how fast their legs swept horizontally.
Okay. So push sideways more effectively, sweep sideways faster. What about the vertical stuff? Pushing up, sweeping up.
Interestingly, no significant difference there between the groups. Not in vertical force, not in vertical sweep speed.
Huh. And what about the horizontal sweep speed itself? Were the advanced players just faster?
Actually, no significant difference there either when comparing the groups directly.
That is surprising. You'd think more experience means a faster sweep.
You might think so, but the data really pointed elsewhere.
So the big conclusion was?
It really hammers home the extreme importance of the horizontal component, both the force pushing sideways and the sweep velocity sideways, especially that horizontal ground reaction force that was the key thing setting the advanced players apart.
So it's not just about lifting up with the hip, it's very much about that horizontal drive and timing the sweep in that plane. That's a great insight from the biomechanics.
Definitely.
Okay, let's switch perspectives now. From the lab to the dojo. We've got this YouTube video, Harai Goshi tips from Riki Judo Dojo. What's the sensei's take?
Well, he starts right with the name, Harai the sweep, Goshi the hip. But then he immediately says something crucial. It's the hip that's the throwing part. The sweep assists.
So it reinforces that it's a koshiwaza, a hip technique, not an ashiwaza, a leg technique.
Precisely. He's very clear on that. It's a common mistake to think the leg does all the work.
He tackles that directly, saying you don't just catch the leg.
Yeah, he explains you don't aim for the leg initially. The hip goes in first, lifts the opponent, and then the sweep comes through. The hip leads.
That aligns perfectly with the idea of loading them onto the hip we heard earlier.
Exactly. And he gets really specific about the sweep itself. Says you want maybe ½ an inch to an inch between your sweeping leg and their thigh.
That precise.
Apparently so. And he stresses the leg should sweep back straight for maximum energy, not out in an arc.
Which, again, connects to the biomechanics, right? Keeping that force horizontal, not letting it dissipate sideways.
It lines up remarkably well, doesn't it? Practical experience matching the scientific data.
He also shares a story, right? About Richard Fukua.
Yeah, a U.S. national champion who's also an algebra teacher. That's brilliant. And apparently his Harai Goshi was spectacular. The sensei describes his fundamental form, his kyo no kata, with the left foot digging way back and that powerful right sweep.
It helps to visualize someone mastering it like that.
It really does. The sensei also talks kazushi again, linking it to the body turn as you step in. Very important.
And he had a practical tip for the shoulder.
Yeah, a neat trick for relieving shoulder pressure during the turn, bringing your elbow under their armpit, using your forearm to help turn their shoulder. Little details like that are gold.
Things you wouldn't get from just reading a study. He talks about practice, too, uchikomi.
Right, practice entries. He emphasizes fitting in correctly without muscling it. He contrasts it with trying too hard, being too far away, relying on strength.
Which goes back to the core idea, judo's about leverage, not raw power.
Exactly, and he uses this great analogy. Katana desho, like a sword, right? Meaning getting your hip in super tight, like slicing in, especially when your opponent pushes forward. It's a very vivid image.
It really is. Does he mention different versions, like kata?
Briefly, he mentions the Neji no Kata version, the formal throwing forms, where the step is maybe different, the sweep more outside, shows there's variation.
And he made a really interesting connection there, didn't he, between kata and continuous improvement?
Yes,
Yeah.
linking it to QIP, a quality improvement process like at Toyota, saying kata isn't just rigid formality.
It's a tool for refinement.
Exactly, a way to constantly improve, and importantly, it shouldn't require brute strength if done right.
That really reframes how you think about those traditional forms.
It does. And he finishes by hammering home that core judo principle again, leverage over strength. Using Kano himself and Mithun throwing bigger guys, it's all about the mechanics.
Okay, fantastic. We've covered a lot of ground, looked at Harai Goshi from the science angle, the practical angle. Let's try and bring it all together. Key takeaways.
I think the main thing is that Harai Goshi is this really dynamic, effective hip throw, but it's way more than just hoisting someone with your hip. It relies so much on precise mechanics. The science showed us how critical that horizontal force from the support leg is.
Yeah, that was the big differentiator.
And that ties into the timing and direction of the sweep. It's physics in action, refined through dedicated practice, like the sensei emphasized, understanding leverage.
And for everyone listening wanting to grasp things quickly but deeply, think about how looking at this one single technique gave us so many layers.
Yeah, from biomechanics to practical tips, even a bit of philosophy with the kata and continuous improvement idea.
It really shows how complex skills are built, which leads to maybe a final thought.
Go on.
How could these principles we've seen in Harai Goshi leverage efficient movement, that horizontal force idea? How might they apply elsewhere, in other sports, or even, problem solving?
That's a great question to ponder. That blend of understanding the science, the why, and then the dedicated practice, the how, it seems fundamental to mastering pretty much any complex skill, doesn't it? Whether it's judo or something else entirely.
Next time on the Science of Judo podcast, Episode 4, the Judo Foot Sweep Explained. Body mechanics and muscle engagement in Diashi Harai.